Hello, this is another episode of MTG Brewery. This is the bug deck that we mentioned in the other video. And anyways, it's obviously much more of a controlling deck if you've already seen the video we had of us battling against each other. So we'll start up with the land. There's 3 swamp, 3 forest, and 3 island because I like to have basic lands that enter untapped anytime of any of the mana that I need, because sometimes you just need it. And you can't always afford to shock yourself or play a tap land. And then next lands are, of course, 3 Breeding Pool and a Simic Guildgate, 3 Water Grave and a Dimir Guildgate, and then 2 Overgrown Tomb and 2 Golgari Guildgate. The reason the Guildgates, I don't have a full set of each shock, those are expensive. But I do like to have 4 of each duel. I don't like to go over, because then it starts to get which duels you want, which colors you need the most. I often just have an even split. Try to get 4 of each, that's how I normally play. And then I have a 1 Mutavault and 1 Encroaching Waste. Encroaching Waste kills opposing Mutavaults, Encroaching Waste. And against certain matchups, you can actually just screw them on mana if they just have the 1 color source. And sometimes when you just draw more land, you just want them to have less land. Mutavault is just a dude that survives my removal and the 1 board sweep that I have. And it's just really good. Usually it's a blocker. It's against control decks it attacks usually. It's kind of a weak attacker, but any damage is relevant sometimes. So, and on the creatures, we have 2 Deathrite, 2 Scavenging Ooze, 2 Lotless Troll. These are not these. These represent the new Mana Dork, the 2-drop 0/3 hexproof defender. That's the Birds of Paradise. Of course, we haven't gotten any new Theros cards yet, so we're gonna get these later. But so they're representing. Then 2 Lifebane Zombie. Then I got 2 Desecration Demon. And the creature's 2 Deathrite, because we kill a lot of stuff. And there's a later card, there's an enchantment, Deborah's Chant, that we use. This helps us cycle through our graveyard in order to get what cards we actually want the most. And also it's a sort of Mana Dork at that late in the game. For gaining life, and then dealing damage is always good. Dealing damage is always relevant against control decks, and then gaining life is always relevant against mid-range and aggro. Scavenging Ooze, since we actually kill a lot of stuff, is more relevant. And so it gets pretty big, pretty quick. And again, it just cycles through the graveyard and gains you life. And cycling through graveyard when you get Debrechan out is always good. Because there was actually a game, I just got Encroaching Waste, and I just started strip mining. And it was pretty good. It was pretty fun. Then we have 2, Lotless Troll is a really good blocker. And against a control deck, when your Lifebane Zombies and Deathrites are really bad, you just use them as an attacker that keeps regenerating. It's really hard to deal with. Most decks that don't, because this is rotation proof. So Terminus is going to go out, and most people don't play Merciless Eviction, so it's going to be really hard to kill in most matchups. And against mid-range, it's the best blocker I can ever have. And against aggro, it just blocks and kills. And the Mana Dork, it's an accelerant that's hex-proof. That means the burn decks can't burn it. It's also a 0/3, which means it blocks most aggro decks, except green-white, because they have a lot of 2-mana 3/3s and 3-mana 4/4s. So it's just usually really good. And then Lifebane Zombie is in the main deck, it's a good 3/1 for 3. Against the matchup it's good in, aggro and mid-range. It blocks and kills, and then eats the guy out of their hand, so it's like a 2-for-1. Every now and then just kill it, but that's still 2 cards out of their hand. No burn to the face, which is always good. Against control decks, it's just information and a 3/1 that just attacks. And they have to answer eventually if that's all I play as a dude, because I can just leave all my stuff up. And then 2 Desecration Demon, because they're 4-mana 6/6s. Against aggro, they're just great blockers, or they eat a guy. Mid-range, great blockers, or they eat a guy. And then control decks, they just start bashing the face, because they're really good. Syncopate, the spells now, is 2 Syncopate, 3 Devour Flesh, 2 Psychic Strike. These are 2 Putrefies, which are in a box of cards that we're missing. I'm trying to find them. They have some. The box has a lot of expensive cards. Not sure where it is, but that's what those are. 2 Gaze of Granite, and then 3 Far and Away. Now, Syncopate is just an early cancel. It cancels against aggressive decks and mid-range decks early. You don't always have to have like a 3-drop. Canceling turn 2 like Burning Trees, or 2-mana 3/3s is really good. Or just if you're on just like 3-drops are really good too. It's always good. I never had a problem with it. And then Devour Flesh is just removal. And since it's a control deck, it grinds out the game. You really don't care about their life total. So it's just good removal. Psychic Strike is just another cancel. and since Dissipate's going out, it's not double blue, which can be a problem sometimes when you get screwed on mana. So blue-black is always good. It's easy to cast. Putrefy, because a lot of the removal in this deck is Edicts, and you don't always get to choose, which against Swarm decks is really bad with just Edicts. So Putrefy really helps. It kills Boros Reckoners when I need to, and other sorts of stuff. Just good to have spot removal, and artifacts are always, well, not always, sometimes relevant. And then Graves of Granite is the only board sweep that's really in these colors with Mutilate going out. And a lot of my stuff that's actually on the board, you usually want to do it for 3, because if you're doing it for more, it's probably have a weird matchup that you don't need most of your stuff anyways. So it's just the only board sweep that I really had access to with Mutilate going out, and it's just really good with dealing with everything. And then 3 far and away, because it's spot removal, or not spot removal, it can be if you get it cast both sides, unsummon a guy, then they sacrifice the one you want gone. Or sometimes it's just a tough choice, but it's a really good card the later the game goes. Sometimes you just need 3 mana Edicts. It's really good against aggro and mid-range, awful against control, as to be expected with removal. And now we have one artifact, which is Ring of 3 Wishes, which is more of just a fun card, but I like it. It mostly comes out against aggro matchups. It's decent in mid-range and best against control, which I've had some weird looks, but the control decks never let it resolve. So that tells you something about what it does against them. Always being able to tutor, at least just for 3 cards, is really good. Really powerful against control decks. And then we're on to enchantments, which is a Deborah's Chant, which just fills up my graveyard. It's an extra draw. And as you've seen, cycling through your graveyard to get the cards you want repeatedly, like in Roging Waste, is just really good. And then we have 2 Primeval Bounties, which this card is just insane. If you resolve it against aggro or mid-range, it's just game. Sometimes it's just game over, because whenever you play a land, you gain 3 life. When you play a dude, you get a 3/3. Whenever you play a spell, your creatures get bigger. It's just really good, and it's just hard to lose when you resolve it against a control, or not and against control. It's really good because you get dudes, and your cancels just make your dudes bigger, which are more of a threat. And so against any matchup that it resolves, it just makes your deck really strong from then on and hard to lose. Then we have Planeswalkers, which is 2 Liliana of the Dark Realms and 2 Vraska. Now Liliana, she's mana fixing and she gets cards, and sometimes she's just a kill spell or a pump to finish off the game. That ultimate is really good against a control deck, because by the time you get there, I'm usually out of swamps. So that ultimate is just really powerful. Lets you just play all these expensive cards for really cheap, with just like 3 lands, really powerful. And then Vraska, because she deals with just anything. With the turn she comes down. Opposing Planeswalkers. Her ultimate's just crazy against control decks. You can just do that and just save up all your cancels and stuff to finish them off. And then her +1 protects herself, which is always really good. So, and of course, we haven't really been able to do a lot of testing with different decks, but so the deck does need a little bit more tuning. But this is the deck. Really fun to play. So, hope you enjoyed the video.